Welcome to the Mojo Mundi podcast, where it's all about magic, manifesting, and movement. I'm Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch, and we're about to dive into not knowing. Last week, my friend Patsy sent me 2 YouTube videos from 2 different astrologers, both of whom discussed the chaotic energy that has been swirling in the heavens for most of last month. They spoke of stripping away illusions and described the surfacing of lies and hidden truths. They both explained that moving into December, approaching winter solstice and just beyond, the astrology describes a time of hovering potential, a time of things not yet formed, a time of not knowing. I found this reference to not knowing very exciting. I had just come to the wisdom that I am in a time of not knowing. I had set forth the intention to be present to not knowing, to allow that the way is obscured in darkness, and to curb my urges to force clarity, which is, of course, impossible. It was validating to hear that those who trust in astrology were suggesting that I am not alone in the not knowing, and that we are all being counseled to allow the uncertainty while proceeding with trust. I have heard recently from many friends and family that not only does the current and ongoing energy of the world feel precarious and conflicted, but they also feel destabilized and impeded in the spheres of their personal lives. While I have been able to return again and again to allowing the state of the world to unfold full of contrast and diversity, I have struggled with contrast in my personal life. I have been feeling stuck for some time in my business and impeded by an increasing sense of uncertainty. Even more challenging, I have been increasingly aware that I have no idea how long this time of drifting and foundering will last. I have felt the fear arise that maybe the not knowing will never end. After a number of synchronicities came to me, I recognized that I, like many people, struggle to allow not knowing in part because we don't know when the not knowing will end. The brain says, sometime this will likely change. Without a specific date, each new day is the beginning of sometime, again and again, a point in the future that can never be reached, as it resets each day, each hour, each minute. My urge as I stared into this realization was to set an end date. This is not an uncommon response. We may recognize this urge in such common human choices as giving ultimatums or inciting an argument to get it over with. For me, my fear often shows up as some form of anger, irritation, frustration, and/or of victimization. Why me? And/or self-criticism. What's wrong with me? What painful feelings. In this particular instance, I was able to maintain a fair amount of equanimity. At the same time, I still leaned into putting an end to uncertainty for what I told myself were pragmatic reasons. It occurred to me, as I observed the desire to quash the discomfort I was feeling, that while the feeling of discomfort was subtler than old feelings of anguish, I was still attempting to avoid stepping into contrast of not knowing. What is the challenge of not knowing? Why do we seek to avoid it? After all, no news is good news, right? First of all, the brain perceives uncertainty as threatening. It goes into fight, flight, flee, fawn mode. The real challenge of uncertainty is that it is non-discrete. That is, it has no defined end. Non-discrete threats turn the fear response into an unrelenting stress response, and we know how deleterious stress is to the health of the body and the mind. When we attempt to set an arbitrary endpoint to uncertainty, one that is completely made up by us, we are making a totally understandable effort at self-care. The problem is that arbitrary endpoint is just another attempt to control what we don't have control over. But the arbitrary endpoint gambit is not the only trick our brains use. Another common response is to find a reason, a cause for our situation, thus ending the not knowing and opening a door to be able to move forward. We will now know what will happen. If we look to the outside world, God is punishing me, my friend doesn't love me, my wife is having an affair, or to the inside, I'm stupid, unlucky, missing something. Now we do know, and we can take action. Oh, what a relief. Except that there is a difference between actually knowing and creating a, sometimes logical, simulacrum or mimic of knowing. A big contributor to the problematic nature of creating a mimic of truth is that we do so when we are in fear. That's what the fight, flight, flee, fawn response is. It's fear. Here's where we move from the cognitive behavioral lens to the spiritual and manifesting lens. When our thoughts are focused in fear, we create more thoughts of a similar vibration. Simultaneously, we are ignoring thoughts of a contradictory vibration, even if they might actually be accurate for our physical reality. If we are often unable to acknowledge the contradictory thoughts whose accuracy stands before us as true in the moment, how much less likely is it that we will be able to choose thoughts of a vibration opposite to fear without much support from the immediate reality, such as when we are in not knowing? Does that mean we're stuck? Are we going to sink in the muck and mire of not knowing? We actually don't have to sink, because we do have a most powerful answer to things which don't appear to have an answer. The answer is, that's right, allow. What does it look like when we allow the not knowing? Let's begin with what it doesn't look like. As always, the first challenge of allowing is recognizing that it doesn't mean giving up, or accepting the worst case scenario, or saying that something is okay or easy or desirable when it isn't. Allowing in the face of not knowing means that we make a choice to recognize our situation as not knowing, rather than trying to name it as something else: rejection, punishment, doom, hopelessness. This choice is different from choosing not to know. Choosing not to know means that we are choosing to ignore a situation that is clearly presenting itself. For example, I may choose to ignore repeated derogatory remarks from my boss, telling myself she's just joking or she didn't mean it to sound so bad. In that case, I am choosing to ignore information because it is too stressful, that is, too scary, to accept the truth and respond to it. Not knowing arises either because it is not in our power or control to know the answer or outcome or situation, or because the outcome or event or explanation hasn't manifested yet. In either instance, we first take time to be present to and allowing of the thoughts and sensations that are driving a desire to avoid the contrast. Allowing is being present with compassion. Once we feel the natural softening of avoidance and fear in the presence of compassion, then we can open to allowing the not knowing. In the instance of not having control over knowing, allowing takes the form of releasing the false sense of control and recognizing that knowing won't actually protect us from danger. In the instance of something not yet manifested, we are allowing the inspired unfolding, recognizing that by allowing, we are riding the flow of co-creation rather than resisting the flow. In each instance, we are invited to trust. Trust that God loves us. Trust that releasing attempts to control what we don't have control over actually leaves us with greater reserves to control what we can. Trust that Goddess is delighted to co-create with us and is in action with us. Trust that we don't have to do everything. Trust that co-creating is accomplished through ease rather than effortful labor. When I realized my urge to set an arbitrary end date when I would abandon the dream I was co-manifesting with my deities was avoidance rather than pragmatism, I stepped back. I had been able to maintain some equanimity in the process of facing not knowing because I had managed compassion toward my fear. But I moved into logic, attempting to avoid the trap of negative feelings. Avoiding is not allowing. Happily, we are not alone in the process. Through synchronous messages from my deities, I received a reminder of how I felt at the beginning of my process of co-creating this particular dream. I also got the astrologers' messages about the energies of the greater solar system being in flux. The amazing light show of the aurora borealis in early November came to mind. I took some time to check in with my body. If I chose to abandon my course, how did that feel? I could tell that not only did I not really intend to step away, but I also wasn't as afraid as I thought I was. I was actually more concerned with how others might be feeling about my choices. Okay, there is the other. After sitting with the sensations from my physical vibrations around sending my co-manifesting onto a sidetrack, I realized that I really wanted to step into not knowing. When I got back in touch with where I was at the beginning of the manifesting process, I remembered feeling excited and simultaneously having no clue what the possible outcome might be. What was exhilarating was recognizing that I was going with the flow, that I was in the process of inspired unfolding, that I was able to focus on what was right in front of me, taking in what was the truth in the moment with wonder and curiosity, while maintaining a quiet, solid certainty that I was in this with Creator, which supported my releasing any focus on the future. Bolstered by these memories of where my co-creation started, I decided to move forward in not knowing. I also wanted to understand where I had lost connection with the sensation of inspired unfolding. I realized that I had become caught up in the details of how it should look and what I should do, rather than staying connected with what my emotional guidance system was indicating and with the wonder I experience when I am flowing with all that is. I also realized that all the doing I was doing, all the effort I was making, was eating away at the time I had been giving to my daily spiritual practices and rituals. I was skipping morning devotions and my mala gratitude practice, moving less, drinking less water, eating more erratically, getting less sleep. As I wavered in the pleasant dedication to these joyous practices, I didn't feel as good. My physical, mental, emotional, creative, and spiritual vibration was not in harmony with what I am co-creating. I have decided to release trying to know the unknowable. I have chosen to fill the void left by this release with an equally vigorous pursuit of being present to the not knowing. I have shifted from seeing not knowing as a threat to approaching the not knowing with curiosity, respect, even delight. This shift is not a product that I now possess. It is a spiritual practice, a process of sometimes moment-to-moment attention and recommitment to allowing the not knowing and to allowing wonder to arise in the face of this sacred experience. Yes, sacred, because the not knowing is the ether, potential, creator energy. And in these moments where we surrender to the awe of not knowing, recognizing that it is the precipice that lies between now and new, we can live in the unbridled power of allowing and inspired unfolding. Have you felt the presence of not knowing? What arises for you when faced with creator energy that is currently unformed? What do your own vibrations tell you about your relationship with potential and the not yet manifested? If you are looking for a dedicated space to explore the mysterious not known, connect with me to ignite your inner wisdom and light the way forward on your living path. You can reach me via my website or email or on Facebook at Caravan of Dreams MT. Our music is used by permission of the artist, Sean Phoenix. Thank you, Sean. And thank you to Bozeman Public Library for the Workbench Sound Studio located in beautiful downtown Bozeman, Montana. If you would like to learn more about allowing and how to find your unique style of manifesting, please visit my website, caravanofdreamsmt.com, or email me at dancingwitchmt@gmail.com. This is Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch. Till next time, blessed be.